Mic. It is November 1st, and we're a little late starting, about quarter after 6 Eastern or 22:13 UTC, I think. Yep. Yeah, so your first time watching this, please check out the new EOS Discord channel. And this is in the voice chat, so you don't need Zoom or any special account. You're in Discord and you just join the voice chat. And of course, videos are optional. But yeah, come check it out. Ask some questions, get to know the community. Welcome, everybody. I hear Matthew typing away aggressively.
Always.
something
always, always something to improve. Yes.
Right on.
My monitoring kicks in, and I got a pile of alerts.
Cool.
Some block producer on the Kylan test network is not producing blocks right now, so that's the current alerts.
So you got to spend a bit of time keeping the test nets going, eh? It's not just about mainnet always, which kind of makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, I've got to make sure the test nets are there for the developers, so when they're ready to test things. So, make sure the test net's running, make sure the history solutions are running on top of the test net, make sure the faucets are there so they can generate tokens.
Nice.
Yeah. From my perspective, test nets are like production because, people want to test things. Well, the test net needs to be there.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Of course, we do lots of crazy things on test nets too, but that's okay.
Yeah. Right on. Jesse, I suppose we can turn it over to you. You probably have some news. Today's a big day for the EOS Bees.
Everyone. Yeah, so today we started the process of distributing EOS tokens for people to market EOS. And so I'll describe how the process has gone and will go. The worker bees are trusted bees throughout the language hives, and so there's 6 hives that are going to be paid this period, and our worker bees have been there for at least a month, so we know everyone. The scout bees still coming in droves, and so the requirement to get paid is you need an EOS account, you need a Discord account, you need to record a video of yourself saying that, "Hi, my name is blank. I agree to the bee code never to insult or cause a negative reaction." You need a Twitter handle and a Reddit handle. So you need those 5 things. And so I extended the deadline so the deadline was an hour ago. And so we just got the numbers in. So 6 language hives: English, Korean, Turkish, Spanish, French, and Vietnamese. We're going to be paying 147 people, bees, based off the winnings we got from Eden. And so how it works is there's a pool. There's a pool for workers and a pool for scouts. So the princess looks at the worker pool and decides which workers will pay based on that, based on the allocation of the pool, and the workers do the same based on the scout pool. So all the numbers just came out, and all the pools are set. Now the princess bees right now deciding how much to pay their workers, and it's kind of the funds are small right now, but it's a decision that needs some thought because, for example, if a princess picks one of their workers and pays them with 50% of the worker pool, that worker's scouts will get 50% of the scout pool. So it's, the decision from the princess affects the whole hive. We're thinking about that right now. So once those decisions are made, we will begin the on-chain payments, which will begin tomorrow morning. And when that is done, we will come out with a report, all the links to the transactions on blocks. And so yeah, that's the update.
What's the frequency of payment? Is it daily?
It's every 2 weeks.
Okay. And you in advance. You pay for the 2 weeks in advance, it sounds like.
Well, no. We want to get the numbers in advance. We want to decide, okay, how much is everyone going to be making this pay period in advance? Write those numbers down, and then when the EOS actually gets into your account and everything's already decided, and we check, like, they give the blocks link, the payment link, and then we'll check whether that number matches what they had wrote in the spreadsheet.
I see. The princesses.
And the workers, because the workers have scouts, and there's a pool of funds that each worker gets to pay their scouts. The workers have to decide as well how much their scouts are going to make. Like, let's say a worker has 3 scouts. If one of the scouts is really outperforming the other scouts, they'll pay that worker, that scout more. And all those decisions need to be made. That's kind of where we're at in the process right now.
That is a lot of decision making for yeah, interesting.
So it's going slower than, well, I extended the deadline because I knew that there were people, there was a few older people wanted to join but didn't have an EOS account and needed help getting EOS accounts. And so we gave a little extra time. They finally got it done by the deadline. And but yeah, again, 147 people, 6 different languages. This is going to take a little bit of time for everyone to get their payment. I'm hoping like within 36 hours, we can come out with this document that we're going to show the community all the payments that were made.
How do you like manage like everyone? Is there like a database of like every bee that you have in the hives kind of thing, or is it just in a spreadsheet, or how does that work from a sort of administrative perspective?
Yeah, it's in a spreadsheet, just a Google sheet. We all share it, and it's not the most ideal because everyone needs edit access because everyone puts in their own Twitter handle and Reddit handle. But it's been fine so far. It's,
Be cool.
Yeah, just a Google sheet.
Be cool if you had like a website and it's like sign in with Anchor or sign in with Discord, and then once you sign in, you can just link your accounts by signing into each of them, and then that way you know, each person can prove which account is theirs, and it's sort of like all automated for you. And then when pay run comes, you just press a button, and then it distributes the EOS accordingly.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like something.
Doing it a little old-fashioned right now.
If I had the time, I'd be keen on building it. Sounds like a fun project, but yeah.
We actually started using one of those internally for our team. We've talked about open sourcing it. Basically, just fill in the participation rates of everybody, and then every time you deposit into the contract, it divides it up evenly, and everybody can claim their own rewards.
Yeah, well, you can have like a dividend kind of system, couldn't you? Where basically when you hit the dividend action, it tracks the last time that you did, withdraw it from the total, like pool balance and stuff. So yeah, but then with EOS being so scalable, you could also just brute force it, couldn't you? With a bunch of transfer actions, depending on how often you did the payouts, I suppose. Too.
You know, Jesse, what might be interesting that's sort of related. Did you look at all the Haifa DAO or Haifa Do video and stuff from Reiki? Did you notice that at all? I didn't hear you, but
no, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have not.
Well, There's batch payments in there. It's so for there's so much stuff he's got built into that, or they have built into that. But one of them is having a holacratic framework using holacracy to organize. I don't know if that you're very hierarchical sort of in the B structure, but it might be something to consider if it's a full DAO. It's a full DAO setup. So you would set this up and it creates like this whole business org as a DAO of sorts. But part of that is also these roles and pay bands and what people get paid, and then batch payments. It's a few months away, of course, because it needs to get moved over. But just curious if you looked at it. It'd be a neat application of what you're doing, perhaps.
Yeah, I actually remember that now that you're saying it. I heard some pitch about it. Payments would help a little bit, but a lot of these payments are going to a fund that's controlled by a worker bee who then pays their scouts. So it's not like one account is distributing to a whole bunch of accounts. The treasury distributes to multiple accounts. Once it goes out to multiple accounts, then it's really a lot of accounts after that.
So have you tried Monday.com, Jesse?
No, it's paid. So I think it's paid.
It's like too expensive for all of these then?
CRM, right?
Yeah.
Communication-wise, we've been okay. Why do you recommend Monday.com?
I just know that Crypto Rata uses it, or last time I checked anyway, to handle all their, posts and management and, centralize all the ratas and stuff that they have. It's pretty clean, and then again, it's got like an API as well, so if you want like integrations and stuff. Back when voice was a thing, I set up like a API sort of system where it basically tracked all sort of Crypto Rata posts, and then it would go to the voice API and get like the amount of likes and comments and stuff like that, and then it like put it directly into the table on Monday. Every 5 minutes, so keep it all in sync. But yeah, just thinking of what solutions might be a bit more scalable for you in the future, because I'm sure there's only so long you can go with a spreadsheet before it becomes a real big hassle and you might be in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. We want to definitely minimize the amount of platforms that we use. So we're on Discord, and if we had maybe one more place where people can go to, I would love it, like you had mentioned. Perhaps if we get more funding, we can fund a dev to do what you had suggested. A website, you log in with your EOS account, and then you can make entries into these multiple spreadsheets that we have.
Sounds like a Pomelo project. Somebody needs to write up a grant proposal.
A pitch waiting to happen.
Well, no, that'd be a bounty for us. Sure.
No, it doesn't have to be a bounty. Because it could be a grant. The grant is, I want to make a generic way that we can have people collaborate with each other on a platform, and the bees would be one thing that could plug into it. Maybe, I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
Right. We would donate to that for sure.
Right, because I can see this EOS ecosystem. There's a bunch of projects that might need a platform like that. Right, even Pomelo itself, it kind of fits into that. Right, so it will be open source. So we can build more activities around how to build collaborative communities that all work together with, common sets of widgets. Might be able to build something. I don't know, just spitballing. Think about your grant proposals. It opens in a week.
Oh, a few of us are, I'm sure. I guess the good thing about going slower in terms of, Jesse, what you're doing, it may be annoying at first to have to do it manually, but at least it gives you ultimate agility, because you can change directions pretty quick, and then once you've got it dialed in as to what exactly you're doing, then it's time to try to automate.
Yeah, exactly. The first one, you don't want to build an automation system because then you automate the wrong thing. So you need to understand the.
Yeah, and it's going especially slow because this is the first time we're doing payments, and yeah, we'll get it down eventually.
I think we did spreadsheet based stuff for like 16 months on our side. It's a pain.
Yep.
You get really good at macros.
Right?
So what do you use now, Aaron?
We set up a smart contract that we're still working on parts of. It's a web interface. It's actually at rewards.graymass.com. None of you will be able to log into it, but you log in with Anchor, and as a member of the system, you can see your balance, claim it at any time. It integrates in with the Delphi Oracle to do price tracking. That way you can actually see how much it was in fiat value that you were paid. We're planning on having it generate invoices, so that way it can keep track of all of kind of the paperwork trail that's needed. Yeah, it's just one GitHub repository that's both a contract and a web front end and deploys itself. And it's kind of how we're dog fooding one of our new toolkits. So yeah, that's what we use now.
Awesome.
And one of the other parts we want to do is we want to have just funds automatically get deposited in there. Like as a BP, we have regular funds coming in, so we want to funnel that in there automatically, and then you can claim their paychecks basically.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah, but yeah, more tools like this, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd love to see more grants and initiatives around stuff like this that let people build businesses around this ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Because look at as ES Nation, we have the Diffuse paid solution, which has customers, which needs a payment system, and quite
Yeah.
honestly, some of those payment things are done manually at the moment. So it would be great if such a system existed that we can plug into that takes payments online. Here's your invoice. Here's your payment. All that stuff. So ES Nation is not writing up any grants for ourselves, so we won't be doing that. Other people are welcome.
Well, what's good about Pomelo, as we found out on Saturday, is every quarter there'll be a new round. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for these ideas to percolate to the surface to turn into full-fledged pitches.
For sure.
John, you got any updates on Violet Garden? How's your weekend, and how are things coming?
Yeah, I had a bit of a weekend off. Usually I come to the office on the Saturday and Sunday, but I went down to my house an hour north and went to the beach and went rollerblading and
Oh, nice.
so I had a pretty, and then tried out that new Age of the Empires game as well. So took a bit of times off.
Well, there's a new AOE game.
Yeah, it's only $1 as well on Game Pass for the promo thing that they got, but pretty cool. I think it's been like 16 years since the previous Age 3 game came out, so yeah, it's worth a crack. Pretty fun. It's a bit dangerous though. It's a bit distracting.
Right? I was just thinking about the eventual time suck just from this idea. I'm like, should I
Actually,
not even
we should
type it
make
into
that-
Google?
We should make that part of Eden, like how he talks about in the book, like you get the best chess players or something. We'll have Age of Empires instead of chess. But yeah, other than that, just a bit more polish on Violet. Actually, another community project I was thinking about. Aaron was again, using the payload for that you get back from the sort of sign-in process on Anchor. Part of the information that comes back, I then forward onto my server to prove authentication. There was another project that's in the EOS community I'm not sure if I should name it or not, but again, they're also using a Nest.js backend. So I was thinking probably a bit of middleware or something based around Nest.js would be the way to go. I was going to ask you, I can check into the code anyway, but when the user logs in, does the address of which they're at come back in the payload? So like when you hit the sign in method or whatever on Anchor, it comes back with like the authenticated user and like the signature and whatever that gets signed. Does the actual address that it was signed on come back?
Like the URL?
Yeah, URL.
No, but I think that's kind of what the scope parameter is for. Ideally, at some point in the future, that scope will be the name of a kind of a contract. It uses the name type.
Okay.
And then you can use that name type and a signature on the request to verify that that request actually originated from a domain per se.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of in the future.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that'll be neat. There might be another Pomelo project that I'll do, an open source authentication guard on Nest.js, so more apps can use that sort of sign-in feature that Violet Garden's got, where you just hit login, and then it just immediately knows who you are and downloads private. Well, it's not even private data on the API, but potentially you could have private API, data on APIs, and it's just authenticates purely with Anchor and uses that as a thing.
We do have a rough prototype of one of those right now that just returns whether something's valid or not, which could be a good starting position of that. It's on GitHub under our Greymass organization as ID Proofer.
Yeah, I think I used that when I built my own version, and then I added sort of time on it as well, like time expiry and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll make it Nest.js compatible because I hate Express. But yeah, cool.
Progress.
Yep.
Great use of a Monday Open Mic.
Yeah, I think that'd be not even like obviously using the blockchain is better, but there's definitely use applications where you want stuff to be private or it just doesn't need to go on chain for whatever reason, but still using just the luxury of doing using a private key to prove who you are is so much better than using a username and password. So that alone is awesome.
And usable by so many applications.
Yeah,
for sure.
All
Right?
of them,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of them.
way
Exactly.
more secure. Like I've got so much like less overhead, like in security worries with that now, because like I just rely on that sort of cryptography based authentication rather than like a username and all the other crap that goes with handling user passwords and stuff like that, and worrying that the passwords that people give me are good enough and 6 characters long with a special character or whatever it might be, like none of that. So it definitely gives us an advantage there sometimes against traditional applications.
I mean, that's kind of the big dream with Anchor, is that it's more than just a signed blockchain transaction. Use it to log into everything. Use it to log into like Discord, and one of these backend sessions is set up for you, and you're good to go. Because you don't need a username and a password. You just log in with your account and the
So
QR.
is there the ability to sign like arbitrary messages?
No, not right now.
Is there a reason for that? Or it's just something that never came up on your plate?
There's no protocol for it right now.
Okay.
Like the EOSIO signing request protocol is all about transactions, and it has this one exception for the identity request, which lets you sign kind of a fake transaction to serve as that arbitrary data.
Okay. Oh, so I could use that transaction to sign arbitrary messages, or should I just create a bloody contract on chain that just has an action with a string parameter and put whatever I want in there, and just never broadcast it?
I think there's a field on that that you could use for arbitrary data. It would look like a login request to the end user, but I know a lot of
Okay.
apps just do have a dummy action on a dummy contract that doesn't do anything, and users sign and then they never broadcast.
Okay. Cool.
Right on. Any issues with Violet Garden yet, John? Any abuse?
No, not so much from what I've seen. There's seriously the most complicated thing about Violet Garden is not the contracts or anything like that. It's just purely that damn text editor when you're creating a post. that stuff is hardcore. So as soon as I get funding, that's the first thing I'm going to outsource. I don't want to touch that again. But yeah, so far it's been alright. Again, I'm just trying to make it a bit more smooth, handle error handling and stuff a bit better, and just a few little quality of life things. But yeah, I think actually, yeah, to put in production, you can now bid on posts just in the homepage. You don't have to go into the post before you can bid on it as well. And then next up, we'll have some sorting. So at the top of the page, it'll be like most recent, most bidded, and like I don't know, least bidded, I guess. So you can like find the cheap posts, and then you can find the most expensive posts. Because typically the most expensive posts are typically the best ones, or the surging or popular kind of thing. So that'd be a great filter for actually seeing what's actually worth reading a bit more than other posts in a sense.
On the topic of text editors, check out Decentium's post editor and see if you like that. Johan, one of our devs, did some research and came up or implemented this like block system, like text block system, and the editor turned out pretty amazing. And if you like that, I could potentially put you in contact with him. Might have guidance or ideas or inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds good. It's definitely one of those things that people just assume is like really easy, and then you go down the rabbit hole, and it's like, whoa, this is way more complicated than first thought.
I like the if on the homepage now to vote, like you say, you can bid for something, and if you don't have enough funds, it says you can't afford.
Yeah.
I'm too poor. I can't even bid on these.
It also seems like a new feature. I guess I just noticed it, that you can shows the VIO amount, the top bid, or that you would have to get the top bid without clicking into the post. I think I asked for that feature a couple weeks ago, and I just saw it. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Anything on your wish list, just put it into Telegram, and we'll see if we can get it out. This is part of a sort of bigger refactor, but yeah, in general, it's not too hard to deliver that. I guess one thing that I don't like about it is I probably want. It's not immediately obvious as to when like posts are going to expire, so maybe a countdown timer or something to give a sort of sense of urgency as to when it's going to expire might be good as well. I don't know. I need a designer because like my imagination isn't very good for this kind of stuff.
I was thinking about that the other day about the 7 days.
Yeah.
I personally think it's too long, and perhaps 72 hours would be better personally.
Yeah. Sure. 22 hours is 3 days. Yeah. Well, what do you think, Chris and Lovejoy?
I haven't played with the bidding much. Part of it is I'm kind of locked. I've committed any funds I get from these group chief delegate posts are accruing in my escrow, and so I kind of don't want to play with Violet Garden now to mess up with the funds that I'm collecting that I'll donate, right? So I'm like, even my daily amount goes into the escrow, so I don't want to like sway it at all. So I'm kind of not even using Violet Garden right now, except for that, which is so yeah. There's my request. Can you make it so I can like turn off payment or something on posts, because then I can still play and not worry about it.
Yeah. No, I do need to sort that out.
I think it's great though, generally speaking, and a timer is a good idea. So I think you are good at this design stuff, honestly. But 72 hours versus a week, I don't know. I'm still not sure on necessarily what you get out of being the winning bidder. Like I guess that depending on what you get would affect how long.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's not too much at the moment, but yeah, when NFTs come out, and we decided that, well, I think as a team or a community, we decided Atomic would be the way to go. So yeah, when that's released, there'll be a button that's like mint NFT, and then you can turn the post. The post will still be there, but you'll get a copy of that post in the form of a NFT, and then possibly, if you sell that NFT, then again you sort of sell the rights to the post along with it. And then again, with rights to the post, you can put an advertisement or whatever at the top, and then possibly rent out the ad space to someone else. So say bloody Kim Kardashian makes a post, everyone's going to want to bid on it. One, because he's popular, but two, like the audience of Kim Kardashian, typically likes makeup, right? So then if you could own it and then lease that out to a makeup company or whatever promotional thing that they want, then again you can make some good stuff off that.
That's a great idea. That's a great use of owning the post to then own that ad space, that banner space up top.
Yeah, and then you also get like comment boosting as well, so you can put your comment at the top as well. So
is that as far as voice ever went with it? I think that's all they had, right? You could make your comment go to the top. That was, I think, it, right?
Yeah, I think that was all they let you do.
In the post, John, in this ad, is it just like you can upload a banner image? Is that you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking initially. Could make it a bit more advanced later on, but sorry.
And with a link, so I can upload an image, and it's hyperlinked the image.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a little character, like an image box in the small little like Twitter-ish type thing where you only get so many characters, and then in there you can put a link or some text. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, true. I don't know. It depends on. Yeah, because like you it's a bit like Google. I think Google did a fairly good job, at least in the early days anyway, of putting ads there, but they weren't so in your face that they came across as pop-up ads and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you got to find the right balance. Something that's appealing but not so in your face that it kind of takes away from the spotlight from the rest of the page and the content.
Yeah. Well, if you own it, if you're like if you've bought the rights to the thing, I guess that's kind of one of the privileges you get. You can make an obnoxious ad if you want. Don't do animated GIFs then, because then that could get harder on the eyes. Great idea though. I think that's awesome. And then you could have eventually as part of your profile, you could see all the NFTs that you own, all the links to the pages that you've purchased.
Yeah, and at least with Atomic as well, it'd be so easy to put that on a market and be able to sell them around and things like that too. That'd be cool too.
It's gonna drive influencers to this thing. Like, what's so clever about that is it's gonna encourage people to want to bid because they want to own that visibility space, which is then going to encourage influencers to want to come and post because they're going to get the bids. So there's this great relationship between how that could play out.
Yeah, like it's like a circular thing. Like the author, wins, the bidders win, and then as the sort of organization, making a cut from inflation, the incentives are just so much better aligned, rather than all the fees and stuff coming to me. And again, with the global ad, so there'll be like an ad directly on the homepage, not on the post. But again, you have to bid to get rights to that for a week. But again, the VIO tokens that we get from it, we just burn that as well. So it's not coming directly to me either. So everyone wins from that. So like, how many other apps do you get where users want to see ads on the app, so they make money from it? So again, like indirectly, you get paid automatically for looking at the ad, or as well. So yeah, it's pretty new compared to the sort of surveillance capitalism that kind of runs the internet today.
Totally new. Yeah. disintermediation at its best.
I think the change to 72 hours or potentially less is kind of inevitable as the site gains traction. Because the attention span on that kind of stuff is going to get shorter and shorter as more content becomes available. You know, if there's thousands of posts, you might have a hard time getting visibility on a post after the first 24 hours.
True. Like, I guess you don't really go on Instagram and scroll past 72 hours, eh? So, I mean, yeah, like you don't go a week back. So, yeah, why would it be too different on this, I suppose?
Steam went through that kind of iteration life cycle where it was originally, I think, 30 days or something, and then they dropped it way down. I don't remember if it was 3 or 7 days, but it was the voting period at that point. It wasn't this type of mechanism, but same reasoning, because after day 20, voting on it.
Yeah, true.
Good problems to have.
Actually, yeah, it always keep content fresh, eh? Especially if I have like filters for like the most bid. Otherwise, if you sort by most bid and the same post has been there for like 6 days, then it's going to be a bit boring. But if it's gone and another post can take that position because the other one expired despite having so much. Yeah, probably be better. Good point, Jesse. I'll see how difficult it'll be hard to make that change on the contract. If it's not too hard, I'll get it done sooner than later.
In terms of scaling, I think right now, or most recently, it's Eden members can invite one more member type thing. That was the reason.
That's the yeah. That's the plan. Yeah. But yeah, there's also a few more things to do. Like someone uploaded a PDF. I don't know you could do that. So like I'm like users are teaching me about the damn app. So I gotta make it a bit more strict in what gets uploaded. But yeah. So I'm a bit hesitant to sort of open the floodgates because I know there's Eden users, but if there's not Eden users, then there's a tad layer less of accountability. So I'm going to make that a bit more strict as well.
Yeah. Don, have you...
Go ahead, Jesse.
Hi, Chris.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, Pomelo,
mm-hmm.
Have anything to announce or say about your strategy for Pomelo?
Yeah, I'll be working on that today. Still sort of coming up with the straight pitch again. Like Daniel said, I'm not immediately a public good if if it's restricted to Eden. But again, I think there's a few ways that I can sort of pitch it. I think already just having a service that verifies what people are posting is public good right there. Twitter doesn't do that. People can tweet from Elon Musk's or the President of the United States account with nothing but traditional authentication methods, and that's just dangerous. Like that incident with Trump tweeting, like if there was like a deep fake and that was like a more sophisticated like attack, like that could trigger mayhem. Saying, oh, we've just fired missiles upon North Korea, blah blah blah, like deep fake from his Twitter account, like. That would freak people out.
Oh yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Like, it's
War of the Worlds.
Yeah, it's dangerous that we're accepting messages from people that aren't signed. So that alone, the fact that Violet Garden, that does that process for verification, I think already is a public good. But there's a few other ways that I'll frame it. But yeah, hopefully it'll be accepted by Pomelo and we can get some funding.
Yeah, and maybe just again the refining how you can open it up to more people to use it. Give Eden members more access, or I don't know, like more people than just one.
Or
Yeah.
maybe work on the widgets. Maybe is there a proposal for, hey, we're building all these widgets that are good for the community. We need them for Violet Garden, but they're open source for the community to use. Coming back to the conversation we had earlier. Like,
As in a sort of shared authentication system?
Yeah, whatever you were talking about with Aaron there on the authentication library, or there's other pieces maybe that you have there which might be reusable components. So that would definitely be a public good.
Yeah. There's a few ways to skin the cat. I'm sure I'll work it out and I'll reach out for you guys' thoughts. I'll come up with a proposal or something.
Yeah. Lots of time. You're already making great progress anyway, for that matter, right? So, anything else new and exciting, Mel? Anything you wanna jump in? You're probably laying in bed. We might have already put you to
In
sleep.
bed, mate.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. How about you, Jeremy? Any thoughts? Any questions?
Oh, I'm just soaking it all in, man. Violet Garden sounds awesome, man. I can't wait to see it up and running and getting a lot of members on there. I think it'll really work out.
Have you not been on yet?
No, I haven't been able to get on. I've signed into my wallet, but it just kicks me out. Like every time I try to sign in with my EOS wallet.
Oh, okay. What's your EOS account?
HAZ DKM BRGUGE.
Nothing like a human readable name.
I know, right? I don't know. You got that.
Yeah, give it another go.
Yeah.
There is a bit of lag, but I just did a search on the server and it says the server does not believe there's any Eden members that it hasn't covered. So give it a go now, and if it doesn't work, then reach out to me on Telegram and I'll sort you out.
Okay, I'll check it out, man. Thanks.
All right.
That reminds me of.
Go
ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was just gonna say I was watching the Hot Sauce yesterday with Marty and Zach and Daniel, and I've been saying this for a long time on a lot of these projects on EOS that with Ethereum, kind of comparing it, you don't know what you're logging into ever. I mean, whether it's a scam or if it's legit or not. But with the Eden community being able to verify a lot of these projects, I think that is huge. I mean, actually logging in and signing something with your wallet and not at any risk for, losing your funds or anything. I think that's something that EOS offers more than any other project that I'm looking forward to.
Actually, Aaron, what was the go with the act of having sort of app-based keys and doing permissions against one's account, like sort of named auth? What's the word that I'm looking for? Link auth?
The account-based auth?
Yeah. Not account-based auth, but basically, I have, a special permission that just does, one single action against a single contract, and setting that on Anchor.
Oh yeah, that is the link auth
Yep.
operation. I don't know that it has a better name than that.
Okay, so is there a strategy on link auth for making that easier to do? Because there was like that kind of talk where there'll be the sort of centralized repository of apps based on a contract, and Anchor will essentially go to that contract and say, hey, is this like a legit thing? Is it okay to do a link auth? Because technically you could have separate layers or separate levels of link auth where if it's like an EOSIO transfer, then like that raises the red flag. But if it's contained to a single application and the request is coming from that application, from the authenticated address of that application, then you don't have to sort of raise so much of alarm bells in a sense.
Yeah, it's comprised of 2 different projects we've been thinking about for a long time.
Yep.
First one's kind of we've been calling it the DApp Gallery, which is just, a gallery of dApps. It's a place that you can discover, and it's also a smart contract that dApps could register on. And then they can publish information about themselves. They can use that information to sign requests to prove like the authenticity of where requests are coming from. And they'd also be able to set up these are the kinds of permissions we would request of users to be able to perform that are all low security. And then that last part leads into system we want to build into whatever SDKs eventually surface, kind of a UAL replacement type thing, except not quite as opinionated. But what that library we want to be able to have do is also support this DApp gallery in those contracts and be able to read what kind of low security actions they would permit. And then the SDK itself, in something like Violet Garden, would be able to generate keys that would then live in the browser and allow you to sign actions without approving an anchor or approving in whatever, your ledger. And those would all just be very low security things. We block things like system contracts and system token transfers. But it would create this authentic experience where you knew what you were signing into because everything's signed. And then once you are signed in, you can do things like you're doing on the back end to retrieve and write data potentially, but the user would then also be able to sign transactions without these low security transactions without the need of their wallet. So we've been talking about this since like late last year, and it has not been a priority yet, but new systems coming online, our team growing slowly. We're hoping to be able to get to that stuff this upcoming year.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. And I really think you're going to see a lot of DeFi coming in EOS alone, that especially when bear markets and stuff hit. I mean, a lot of people's going to be trying to sit in DeFi, collecting yield or anything they can do. So I think that's a huge win when doing that stuff, just having it verified with low security.
Yeah. It's taken a while to build the foundation to get to this point where it's possible, but we're getting close.
That's awesome. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. I really do. You guys have came a long way.
Yeah, it's been a long road. Wouldn't trade it for anything though. It's been quite the journey.
I was gonna ship a sort of shortcut around that on Violet Garden where basically the user can hit an action on the contract that basically says, hey, I give permission to an EOS account to bid on my behalf, kind of thing. And then I have an API sort of drive that. So you just hit the bid button and it's just instantly bids. There's no transaction that you're going to do on your end. There's no signing on your end. But then down there, I shot it down and gave me shit for it. So I coded it up and everything, and I was playing. It worked for me, but I made it public for about 10 minutes and then I took it down. But then still, like, I reckon if I had it so that the ability for another account to bid on your behalf expires after half an hour, 1 hour, like, it's fairly secure. The API would have to get hacked and then the key gets lost and then they don't go to shit, but it'll still be like a half-hour window.
There's a proposal floating somewhere about expiring permissions, which would be perfect for this.
Yeah.
But I think one roadblock you're gonna hit right now is just that if anything like that flows through Anchor puts big scary warning messages up. That's how a lot of phishing scams happen.
Yeah, well, in this case, Anchor wouldn't, do that. So that's one.
You can
one
still
good thing.
get by it. It's just the user has to go past that big scary warning.
Oh, well, with this, it's basically based on the contract. So, like on the bid action on the contract, it's like either require auth of the user or it's require auth of another account if they've flagged their account against it. So Anchor won't raise any red flags or anything. So yeah, it's a little shortcut. It's not the cleanest way, but yeah, at least it sort of gives that experience.
So
But yeah, I guess.
it all happens internally on the contract, then I take it?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wandering into account-based permissions again.
Yeah.
It's a very technical open mic call.
Yeah, right? I'm trying not to talk, but
No.
No, it's too
It's all
tempting
good.
for Aaron on the
Yeah.
call and picking his brain.
Make use of the time.
But,
Why not? I think it's
Not often.
neat to listen.
yeah, I was gonna say it's not that all that often we just get to sit around. Like this is the first Monday in a couple weeks that I haven't had a meeting during this time. So I was like, well, saw the Telegram message, time to jump in.
The spam worked. Caught
Yep.
your eye.
Yep, that's how I know to come in here. It's like, oh, I see post. Right. You could send out a calendar invite, I guess.
Yeah. I suppose I need everyone's email then.
No, you just post the iCal file, and then people can
Oh.
download it and put it in their own account.
Yeah, right. I could do that. That's a good idea. I should do that. Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Good idea.
So how would you rate that idea, Aaron, that I just suggested? Like out of 10, like 10, do it, or 1, don't do it. It's not secure enough for my standards as an EOS community member. I'm not a fan of it.
So what would it would basically allow somebody to it would allow like the server to bid on behalf of the user?
Yeah. It will mutate the requirements of require auth. So if the user flags that with a transaction that's signed, but if they flag that, then there'll be a 10-minute window or an hour window where another account can bid on behalf of that user, and that account is driven by an API. So when the user hits the bid button, it just makes an API request. My API bids on their behalf.
Interesting. I mean, if it was just that one action and it was limited so that way, like no damage could be done if that key was taken, might not be bad.
Yeah, basically, the vulnerability be everyone's escrow accounts that have elected for that. So unless you press the button, you're entirely safe. So it's only if you press that button where I delegate permission to, the API, and then for an hour window, that's what you're exposed to, and only then it's only your escrow funds. So it's the VIO tokens that are in the contract, in your personal account on your wallet balance, so to speak. It's untouchable.
Yeah, that's not bad. What if I'm trying to assemble this thought? I'm still figuring it all out. Oh, it's too late to think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I do think that there are potential security concerns with people that may put too much into it, but I mean, that's true of a lot of things. How would you handle expiration? I mean, is that a trust-based thing? Would the user have to trust that you're no longer going to bid after that amount of time?
No, the expiration be done on the contract, so there'll be like an expiry thing on the user instance on the contract, so the contract won't be able to fulfill the bid action if it's past expiry.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Knowledge of how that would work in a contract is very fuzzy, so I can't really comment on that. But I mean, so long as it's mitigating as much risk as possible to the user and giving them the warnings as they do opt in, you could run it just like PPs run some of the more secure claiming or other type scripts that they may be running. So that way it's running on a machine that's not even exposed to the internet. The risk of it being compromised is low. It doesn't have to be necessarily connected to anything. It's just monitoring the chain and broadcasting transactions. Assuming that's how it would work.
Well, it would have to be ready to respond to the user hitting the bid button on the post.
True. That's not is that a transaction?
Yeah, the bidding is a transaction, yeah.
Then couldn't you just notice that on chain? The user wouldn't actually have to be directly connected with that service.
Well, I still got to authenticate the user. Like they got to log in and they authenticate the user with a JSON Web Token when they log in with Anchor. I use the Anchor payload and I send that to the server. Server comes back with a JSON Web Token. So when they hit the bid button in this scenario, I'll use that JSON Web Token to say, hey, here's me proving who I am. Use your delegated EOS account to do the bid transaction on my behalf.
Yeah, I guess they would need to talk. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that might be an attack factor, but as long as it's locked down.
Yeah.
And as long as
Yeah,
it's not
that-
too big of a honeypot, might not bother.
Yeah, well, the honeypot would be really determined by how many people have, put their tokens in escrow. So they could, if I'd explained that well enough, then yeah, it would be all right.
As long as you're not considered a custodian for all those funds, and then you have to go through all the legal schmozzle.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would be. Am I already a custodian if I'm holding, funds in escrow on the contract? I don't know. Fuzzy.
Yeah, very fuzzy.
That's why you pay your lawyers $200 an hour to give you an opinion on.
Wait, what do you think? Or what do you think? Is Jesse still here? Yeah. What do you think, Jesse? The ability to just hit the bid button and there's no anchor pop up or anything. It just instantly bids. Oh, Jesse not here?
Jesse just rejoined, so he probably missed part of the
Oh,
context.
okay. What do you think, Chris?
I say go with it. beg for forgiveness. Don't ask for permission. I mean, because it's fuzzy. I don't know. You can just roll with it.
Yeah.
It's convenient to not have to sign every single transaction. That's for sure. Especially if you start adding like a like button as opposed, because right now you can only just comment on a post. It'd be nice to be able to give it some emojis.
Yeah, maybe you just want to limit the amount of funds that are in those contracts.
Yeah. The like button will come, but Dan Larimer dropped another mechanic on the whole liking feature, so I've got to map that out before I can deliver that. It's not going to be a simple, count like it is on Facebook and Instagram. But anyway, let's change the subject. I don't want it to be too. I don't want to hog the mic.
I'm curious about this complicated like button.
Yeah.
Seems like it should be such a simple thing.
Nah, Dan's got, is it like quadratic kind of stuff, ideas for it? So if
cool.
A bunch of different users, go for it. And there's also an extra payout that he had in mind. I don't know, that was the one thing that we talked about that I didn't quite understand because, he got he dove into algorithms and stuff that I didn't know about. But yeah, I'll do the rest of it.
If you're talking about automating actions, if the action has funds attached to it, I think you should make people sign for it. But for something like a comment, and perhaps people should not need to sign for it.
Yeah, well, in this case, it basically being saying like, hey, I'm gonna sign this message that says I don't want to have to sign for it for the next hour, and for any funds that are in the escrow account. That's what this scenario would be. So then you could bid, as much as you wanted, and wouldn't have to pay any CPU or net either, on it either, for the next hour, and then it'll expire, and then if you want to keep doing that, you have to sign the transaction again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think the stuff we talked about a little while ago about automatic signing in the browser can cover the liking and commenting transactions that are on chain. Like those are low security actions. There's no, like, oh, I liked the wrong post.
Damn it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in the end, you
Even
want to
if
make it as close to traditional, what people are used to, right? If
Yeah.
the goal is to eventually get a bunch of Joe Normies onto this and not understanding crypto and signing transactions, like, so the closer you can get to Facebook, probably the easier the onboarding is going to be.
Yeah, Steam went that way with the posting key. It's just a key that could interact with the social elements of the blockchain and couldn't do anything that could damage you. So that was basically your password to log in and interact with kind of stuff. And it seems like voice was going the same direction when it was still a social platform. They had that key that, was your login. They were like, put it in your password manager. Don't even think about it as a key. That's, ultimately kind of where we're heading with all of this. So the views.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, with link off, we can't have expired link offs, can we?
Not yet.
Because yeah, that was one thing I was iffy about. I like your link off, but then I didn't want to leave the link off key in the browser forever.
Yeah. On our side, we're going to tackle that with the apps section in the app, where you'll be able to go in and it'll show you all of the apps that you're linked to like that. You can delete them from in the app, even if the web app is inaccessible. So whatever key it had is bad now.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, if that expiring permission feature gets implemented into EOS.io, then you put an expiration on it, and that whole permission and everything linked to it gets deactivated at a set time. It'd be a big benefit to stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, somebody writing up the EEP for that?
I think there is one.
All right.
Yeah. Excited to see some support behind that. Maybe it'll be on Pomelo. I don't even remember who proposed it, but it's been on my wish list for a while. I'm glad somebody's looking at it.
Well, nothing happens with EEPs until, there's somebody writes the code, right?
What do those
It's an interesting GitHub repository. That's it.
Can you remind us, plebs like me, what does EEP stand for?
EOS Enhancement Request Proposal or something like that.
Oh, okay. So these are enhancements to the base, like the core code, essentially.
Yeah.
System
Correct.
code. Okay. How frequent do those happen, or how and how difficult is it to make those happen?
You could have some balls to do it.
Yeah,
There haven't been many.
Yeah.
I think there were a couple, maybe like 3 by EOS Canada the first 2 years or so. We did one. Some of those were really simple, like maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs, and others of them, like the one we did, is like 20 pages or something. It really boils down to what it's about. It could be big or small. It's just that the process itself never really was adopted. So we haven't seen a ton of them.
Something for the foundation to worry about, I think.
Yep.
It sounds like this is an emergent requirement then. If more of these the core code upkeep is going to be the community, this is how you do it, right? Through an EEP?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
And these are enhancements as opposed to maintenance. So, like, this is an idea you present to the community to adopt, which is kind of then reviewed by the community and ratified somehow. The proposal stage is about as far as the process got. Good platform, though. I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the other blockchains have their versions of this. And it's basically what the centralized groups do or use for core development?
I know of one proposal that's coming that's going to involve this. Essentially, it's fairly in depth. I don't know if you guys saw a post or James Mart mentioned pull requests. So
Pull requests for what?
just
For money.
EOS transactions, but pull requests for EOS or any token
Oh,
for that
that
matter,
one.
as
Oh,
a,
yes. Okay.
right, as opposed to push.
Sorry, when you said pull request, I was thinking GitHub pull requests. Kind of thing. But
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw the proposal for the
So
pull
he's
request on change.
yeah, it's a wild proposal. So I've had he's doing a Pomelo pitch for it to get funding to build this out. And so I've interviewed on it and looked at the white paper and his website. It's a wild thing. It's really cool, but it involves there's a new token basically, and there's a whole tokenomics piece, and you need BP buy-in to run it, and it'll affect BP selection potentially. There's a proxy involved. Like it's cool. It's super cool, but it's learning about this EEP and how infrequent these happen from the community. This will be an excellent test to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think infrequent is the wrong word. I would say more like never.
Okay.
People propose things infrequently and then nothing happens because there was no process.
Yeah.
Right. So that's.
Is there enough of a use case for that? Couldn't you just have an escrow account and then that's just triggered by push-based transactions? Do we need pull?
I think his point is that that escrow account would have to exist with every single business that wanted to do this. Right? You need an account per business. And this, so that then you have to trust. There's a lot of trust of different businesses.
You would have a single contract that everyone, all apps, all people can go to, and then you could even null the keys if you wanted. And then again, when you want to set up a subscription, you basically make the user put in a frequency amount, the amount that's to be taken, and then when.
But they'd have to
people want their
deposit
money,
liquidity, right? The user would be out liquidity. Yeah. This isn't that. So this thing.
It's not,
sorry, go ahead.
It's not that hard to just put your EOS balance into this contract, and then use that as your wallet balance, and then just freely withdraw when you want to, as well.
Yeah.
So if you got a subscription for like $10 a month, you could put in $3,000, and then just treat that as your wallet if you wanted. And then if you need to do transfers and stuff, you can just do it from there.
Yeah, I suppose that would work too. The downside, of course, is you're out the $3,000 worth of EOS, because it's no longer in your account. Like you can't stake it. You can't, like you've given it to the escrow account, right? This plan doesn't require that. You can keep the funds in your account, and it's and then it's just the contract is open, and then any Netflix, any subscriber donation, reoccurring donation business can now build on EOS and just utilize this system contract to enable pull transactions. But I'm not the guy to discuss it. James would, look at his white paper, and then for sure, maybe what you're suggesting is something he could, but there's way more to it though. It's just what it does as a pull transaction. There's way more involved, which I was shocked. I didn't realize this when I just read, pull contract. Yeah, pull transaction. That makes sense. That'd be good to have. And then I saw his white paper, and I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy. There's like so much here. There's a whole tokenomics game about how a proxy is involved, and like you stake there's this new token, and it's doing a Dutch auction over 6 months to release the token, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, I'm not the guy. I shouldn't have even brought it up because I can't speak clearly enough to it. What I will say is it looks super awesome for my untrained eye. It looked really cool, and I was quite impressed with what he's got so far. But I interviewed it. The interview will be out next week, so you guys will be able to see it.
Forward to that.
Yeah. Well, James is such a smart guy too, right? So it's I'd like you. I'm sure he wants to get everyone's feedback, and so John, your comments, I'm sure, are super useful. If it's another there's probably some trade-off, I'm assuming, other than just loss of liquidity. There must be other reasons too why one would be different than the other, and pros and cons.
Yeah, well, freaks me out because like you make one mistake in that code and like that could be catastrophic. You know.
Yeah.
If it's going directly to people's direct EOS balances, like it's a pretty sacred play. So any change that you make around that's got to be bloody, good. And I'm not sure if it's worth fucking with. If I don't know, you can sort of achieve the same with a push system. Especially if you then got to get a whole new method of tokenomics and all that extra stuff that you described. It seems like a lot of work.
It's additional. It doesn't replace the current tokenomic system for voting for VPs. It's another layer that it does a new incentive model to have when EOS tokens get locked up into this system. There's a whole other system and a yield and a return, but you basically have a trade-off to decision. You choose between either collecting yield with the tokens you have staked or voting for BPs. So in the end, it'll end up being a lot of block producers themselves will want to participate because then they get, by delegating some of their token stake that they put into this contract to buy these tokens, the power token, which is not the same as the push transaction piece or pull transaction piece. But the BPs themselves will want to do this so they can then use and vote for themselves in the proxy. Like there's a whole other piece where the BPs are actually active participants, and then they get to use their voice in this platform to then use to pick the proxy recipients to get them to actually be in the top 21 as well if enough tokens become locked up in this. Anyway, I shouldn't have brought up. I know, right? Like this is why I'm like, fuck, what am I doing? I shouldn't have said anything about it. But it's 11-page white paper, so it's complicated, but I'm not doing it justice. I think is probably what's happening. So just let James and let his things explain it. But bottom line, it'll be an interesting test of this EEP thing because that's what it'll definitely need if it gets traction.
Well, it's an interesting use case for how does the community take over maintenance of the core system that Block One was previously doing.
Yeah,
because that's what it needs, right? We're switching the way, up till now the block producers always relied on Block One produces something, then we'll look at it and adopt it. There was never a let's go. I mean, if we wanted something, we pushed it to Block One produced something, there was a release, then we adopted it, right? There was never a community maintained version of the core software, right? So this is a big change.
It'd be very ironic where like that's a very much a push transaction. Like you're waiting for the push from Block One to then do something. So now this the community's taking on the pull, doing it ourselves.
Yes. We just have to get organized on how we're going to do that and find the engineering expertise to take it on. This is not a small problem.
Mm-hmm.
Massive problem. Massive challenge.
Yeah. But needs to be solved. Hello.
Hey, Chris, it's Michael. Quick question for you. I was wondering, are the staking rewards going to increase for one of the Eden proxies? And second reason I'm asking is because I do plan to be contributing to Pomelo, and I wanted to use my staking rewards for that. And so I'd like to continue to stake to the Eden proxy, but I guess is there in like the 3 to 6 month outlook, do you see the rewards changing so that I can better leverage Pomelo with that?
No. Unfortunately, no, because the downside of that proxy is BPs are not selected based on the max APR that they give. So you won't get, like right now it's I think around 0.5%. And so you're not going to, unless you have a shite ton of EOS, that's not going to do much for you. And the BPs themselves are selected by the subjective views of Eden members, and they're not really picking the vote reward BPs. Really, they're just, you're right. So yeah, I don't see it getting any better, to be honest.
I guess, and then to follow up, just I see here there's some wise individuals. What would be better for the community in the long run? Would it be moving my stake and leveraging that EOS via Pomelo? I have a pretty substantial sum. I mean,
Pomelo's a donation thing, right? So in terms of the leverage piece, you'd be
but
foregoing it, yeah.
but both are the way I see it is I these funds that I have I want to leverage for the community, and so the question is that of opportunity cost. Would it be better to stake it somewhere where I get a better staking reward and then deposit those funds into like various Pomelo projects, or would it be to continue to vote for the BPs that we want from Eden's perspective? Do you see it's you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think you should vote for best BPs, but I do get your point on the wanting to donate some of your money to your rewards to Palmetto to do a good service too. So,
like the EOS Network Foundation is matching 500K. The 500K will be matched no matter what, hopefully, right? But the issue is then which projects do you see that strategically align with the Eden agenda, and that's the ones you need. So if you put funds in those ones and not in the other ones, then that shifts the matching towards the ones that you think. So as a Eden community, you might want to figure out which ones you're gonna align with, or maybe not. I don't know. Right? So, because there's public goods that are public goods for Eden that Eden can use, and there's public goods that might not align with what Eden wants.
I guess the question I'm asking is from a hierarchical perspective. Do you all see the voting proxy is like what's more important? Accelerating network utility cases via Pomelo, or aligning the BPs to the interest of Eden? Or like how do you begin to like put those on a pyramid and prioritize?
It depends
Maybe
on
I'm
how
not
much,
asking easy questions.
yeah, it depends on how much time and energy you want to put into things. I would say if you have time and energy, then curating some good picks on Pomelo would be worth your time. And if you really have time, you could give some EOS to your friends and family and have them donate to amplify the matching funds. Because if you try to donate a lot from one account, then you're not going to get like an optimal distribution of matching funds. So, I mean, there's a few strategies there to try and optimize your output if you really want to.
Understood. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in terms of like the bigger picture, personally, I still think selecting the right BPs, your definition of right, we all have our own, but I think that's still a paramount goal that the Eden proxy. I mean, with the BPs that are currently being selected by the Eden members themselves are good. I mean, I like those BPs. So to me, that's like a bigger. It's going to take more time. It's going to take a lot more vote stake to make it happen, and people willing to give up larger APR to do it. But I think the bigger that proxy gets, the more validity Eden gets, because it's tied to Eden. So it's almost like it's another measuring stick as to how is Eden really an impactful thing in the community. So I see that as being a pretty important initiative. But you know, to each their own, of course, and it's your money. Maybe you do a bit of both. Maybe a hybrid. Maybe you do some to the Eden proxy and some you just mix it up.
Yeah, I appreciate this feedback. Yeah, thank you. It's hard for me. I should say blockchains are not my primary knowledge base, so it's hard for me to comprehend the game theory around all of this. But I do want to maximize the amount of benefit we can with these funds. So appreciate the discussion.
Yeah, and remember, Pomelo is, every quarter there's another round, right? So this is not, take all your funds and match it to, next week. Right, so it takes some small amount, small relative to, what everybody else is donating, and then, right. So I don't know how much EOS are people going to donate in round one of Pomelo? No idea.
It's a fantastic question. Yeah.
Right. So if there's 100 people that donate, 10 EOS each. Well, if you put in 1,000 EOS yourself, well, that would be a huge, you could shift the distribution, a lot, especially if you have your friends, right, help you.
Yeah, especially if you
With
spread
that
it to
1,000.
100 people.
Yeah,
under your
exactly.
control.
Right. So, but if there's 200,000 people donating and you put, anyway, whatever. So, you need to look at the proportion of. You may not have to put that much EOS to make a big difference, especially in the first round of Pomelo, because my guess is there's not going to be, a ginormous number of donors.
And kind of looping back to the game theory side of things, like everything's changing right now. So it's really hard to have a good strategy. I mean, for the longest time, it's been like if you want something done outside of block one, either fund it directly or vote for BPs who will hopefully do it. And with the foundation getting on its feet now and Pomelo launching, and a few other projects, that are along the same vein, um, until we see how those kind of play out, it's difficult to know what the most effective approach will be.
A little bit in every basket.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
I agree with you, Aaron. The world is changing. The last 3 years of how things worked, out the window. Right? It's all different now.
Yep, agility for the win.
Right. But yeah, I mean,
agility and resilience.
Yeah,
Yep.
resilience definitely.
Perseverance, PR, perseverance and resiliency.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think our strategy is kind of the same with trying to make our vision a reality. Is we're putting a little bit into everything at this point. Like I'm involved in Eden, so is Miles from my team. We probably have a few more members joining soon. We're working towards a Pomelo pitch probably, and we're a BP. So if one of them proves to be like maybe in the future block producers just produce blocks, which has been something that's been thrown around for a long time now, and they don't add extra value, then maybe we drop that and focus on the others. But until we see how things play out, it's everything.
Yeah, you're also on the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
I hope we don't get to a play. Personally, I mean, opinions are easy, but I hope we just don't get to the place where block producers are simply all they do is make blocks. That's it.
The governance would have to be shifted away from them. They would have to be the ones not approving system contract changes, and we'd have to move to an environment where it's a utility position as opposed to a position of pure power, which it is right now. Which is why right now it's still critically important that, the VPs running the network are aligned with the goals of the network.
Yeah.
But can we ever achieve a place where BP's power is that limited? Like ultimately it's the computers that run the network, isn't it?
Good question. Yeah, I don't honestly know.
Because I think Dan, well, I don't know, I remember, Dan saying that, like, you can try outsource governance, as much as you want, but ultimately, it's he who runs. That's right. There was like the kind of idea that, like, BPs would be kind of like temples, and then like they're always running in that physical location, and then the people who just the people that sort of maintain them, like the tech guys on the ground, they're sort of there all the time, and then they get told what to do by other parties, kind of thing. So there was like that idea, but then it kind of shifted into that's not good enough because they're still going to have like ultimate power anyway, and they can decide overnight, no, we're not going to obey that order and sort of do a hostile takeover sort of thing.
Yep. That's the way it is right now. That's for sure. And that's the way it's been in DPoS for a long time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times the witnesses in Steam stood up against Steam It Incorporated and said, no, we're not doing this. They couldn't deploy changes because they were blocked.
What about Lisk? Lisk was an older chain that was launched long before EOS and stuff that had the same problems, right?
Yeah, a lot of the same problems turned into just vote trading, and people were. It was a race to the bottom for, who's willing to accept the least of their rewards to be in that position. And you ended up with a lot of people that honestly just didn't care. They just wanted that like 10% they were gaining on their investment.
Hey, Aaron, something I was always wondering about is why didn't vote trading take off in Steam or at least it didn't seem as obvious from what I could tell.
It was a lot less common, and I think you saw it amongst individual stakeholders, but you didn't see it from exchanges. And I think a large part of that was due to the 30-day unstaking period. Exchanges couldn't sacrifice that much liquidity to gain governance power.
Mm-hmm.
So I either that or it wasn't popular enough. Like maybe they just didn't care, or maybe they didn't see the opportunity. Probably all of those things.
Removing that unstaking period was the first thing that they did after Justin
Yeah,
took it over, right?
yeah,
So they definitely didn't like that, I think.
yeah. And that probably was in large part due to Justin seeing the opportunities of his exchanges be able to both leverage the power of governance and those funds on his exchanges.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's when I dipped out.
yeah, good call.
Yeah.
I see Atom there, like, okay, Atom, like, if you hold Atom in Coinbase, you just automatically get 5%. You don't have to sign up for it or anything. So they have their validator set up, but Atom has a 30-day unstaking period, last I checked.
Hmm.
I guess there's enough incentives there and they have enough liquidity
Yeah,
that
potentially.
they can just say their exchange went down or something. If there's a bank run, I don't know.
Yeah, how
But
many times does Coinbase go down when
exactly.
something? Yeah. It's like a meme at this point. Yeah, but I
Dot,
mean, maybe they're earning 10% somehow, and then they're giving 5% away
yeah,
because only
the
half of it's
returns
staked.
the returns for validators is around 10%, so they're keeping about half.
Yeah, or they're only staking half, and then they're using that 10% to pay the people,
Mhm.
and then the other half is liquid. Maybe they've estimated that they won't hit 50% bank run or whatever it would be called.
Right. That's yeah. I EOS Power Up almost turned into a Ponzi when we got hacked because I
Oh
had
yeah,
a bunch of it in the SX pool. I had a bunch of the funds that everyone had deposited in the SX pool earning interest. So
yeah,
that was fun.
yeah.
Way to go, Madoff.
Jeez.
I think that's how Madoff's Ponzi happened. It was like an accident. That's
They
how
weren't
most
for those
Ponzi's
meddling
happen
kids.
is yeah, they didn't mean and it just happened, they just kept going.
Yeah, this isn't so bad after all. What's one more? What's one more client?
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys. Talk next
All right.
week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining, Matthew. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Talk to you soon.
Don't bring up the SX pools. We don't talk about the SX.
So I'm gonna bow out now. Good chat. That's funny.
So we need to bring them back though. We should just make a shared SX pool, and anyone can create their own pool on the shared contract.
That was the only good like safe returns, and there's not. I mean, it was kind of like DeFi box and SX pool.
Yeah, we should redo the contract so that anyone can create their own pool. And then at least that way, if it were to get hacked, it's just the one contract that gets hacked. There isn't a bunch of separate contracts for every pool that someone wants to create.
What other pools did you have in mind?
I don't know, like just for the future though. Again, I had that idea that there should be more utility contracts. So, say if say you got your own sort of DeFi product, and it's the exact same thing as an SX pool, but you've chosen to put it on your own contract for like no decent reason, then again you should cop penalty, or you should get shit for it, because it should be done on the same utility contract, which is then watched over by the bigger PPs and stuff like that. So then if the boat is going down, you've got everyone on the one big boat to rescue, rather than a bunch of little boats that are sinking simultaneously. But yeah, I think that'd be better. And then people that want to create different levels, so one pool will invest 90% into Rex, another pool will do 20% on Rex and invest it in elsewhere. People can have different levels of risks tolerance and stuff, but it's all funneled for the one contract.
Kind of like you're in finance with the vaults. How they work, right?
Yeah. And this contract is washed over by the BPs. So if there is a hack, there isn't the whole, oh, how come this one contract gets like special treatment? Like it's sort of happened with SX. It's a community supported contract. It's washed over by the BP. So yeah, it's going to intervene because
The problem then is, are the BPs liable if they don't act, or if they if they do act and they mess up and someone, they burn people's money on accident or something like that, like all this liability stuff has to be like very clearly defined.
I mean, that's kind of the case today, right? They manage the token contract. If something went wrong with that, are they liable for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Another gray area. Really fuzzy.
Right.
But I'd love to see something like that systemized and run by like the chain itself, managed by the BPs. We've been talking about trying to build an earn section within Unicove, and just a place where token holders can go and do some simple action to earn an ROI on their tokens. And who do we choose at this point? Like, we have to trust other people and their contracts. But if it was a system default thing like this, yeah, we'd opt into that and build an interface for it, especially if there was some sort of like incentive program for user interface builders to bring their users to those pools.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, we have Rex, and Rex is a great tool. The problem is that resources are not are too cheap on this chain. So there's just not enough fees being collected. And Telos, I think they just have funds automatically going into Rex, like from their reserves, basically just pumping up their Rex rates. But like, I think that if we increase the cost of resources, we could have a sustainable amount of revenue coming into Rex, and maybe the ENF could also put funds into Rex as well to boost the returns. I mean, it really should be like 10-15%. Like that should be totally normal and sustainable. Like most proof of work or proof of stake chains, it's easy. That's just basic to get that kind of return on your staked assets.
There was I think it was a pull request yesterday by Todd Fleming, who it was changes to the system contract and the set inflation work they did recently for the savings account. And it does allow splitting of arbitrary amounts. And one of the examples was inflation going directly into Rex. So it does seem like there's
That's cool.
some thought behind that happening.
That's great.
You could even bring up the thing. I mean, EOS is known for, I guess, its free transactions, but I guess they're free in a way. They still cost resources, but I have thought about this. I mean, a lot of chains, EOS starting free. I mean, what if everyone paid like a penny a transaction? We offered to do that. I mean, you could always, for a certain group, if you're just sending a transaction and that money went into a fund for even Eden, Palmetto, anything. I mean, that we could come up with to help with resources. I mean, no, look, you're paying anywhere from $10 to $100 on a lot of these other chains, fractions of it. It would also, as many transactions that could be done on the EOS mainnet. I mean, that could rack up some money pretty quick. It wouldn't cost the end user really nothing at the beginning, and then I mean, later on down the road, we could always find another way to make them basically free again, in some ways. But I don't know how that would affect like Violet Garden, with people posting content, because I don't think that's really necessary to pay to post a transaction or a post on social media. But I don't know if you could just do it for your everyday transaction or not.
Well, the problem is that we just don't have good infrastructure for allowing dApps to sponsor their users' transactions.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, the way it should work is transactions cost around a cent to do, and then you can pay for your transactions yourself, and most application developers will sponsor your transactions up to a certain amount, and it all would just kind of, depending on what you're interacting with, would determine how you're paying. We have the fuel built in the Anchor, but we really need, it kind of expanded out to allow
Mhm.
more providers to tap into that system, I think.
Yeah, ideally it would be a pool of providers and you could pick what you wanted to use. And I mean, that kind of stuff's going to have to be built into the SDKs that apps build with. It shouldn't be something, right now it's something you have to invent yourself. And we've published documentation. I know you know this, John, but about how to do this on your own, but it's not easy and it's not standardized.
Could you just have like how complicated do you think it would be, Aaron, if you just had a contract that's managed and administered by Greymass, and then every dApp that wants to pay for its app transactions, I just put in 100 EOS into it on behalf of Violet Garden, and then when you do a transaction on Anchor and it determines that you need fuel, it'll go to that contract and then use the amount required for fuel, and it just withdraws it from that escrow account that you guys
Yeah.
are managing.
Yeah, I mean, we have
pays for it
prototypes of that. The big problem is that it only works with Anchor right now. And
Well, how many other providers are we really using anyway?
that's a good point. But I mean, we still do have like Ledger users and a large population, probably equal to or greater than Anchor in Token Pocket. There's a good portion using Wombat. So I mean, if this
is
all
Token
happened,
Pocket and Wombat open source?
no.
Screw them then.
I mean, people are still using them. People like the multi-coin wallets. Like there are a large group of people that want to be able to store their Ethereum along with their EOS and whatever blockchain they're using.
Well, that's their problem though. They can either go with a substandard wallet, they can use a decent wallet like Anchor and get those luxuries. At least with this solution, we won't have to wait so long on well, let's do
Yeah.
this protocol change and let's do that change. Like a solution like this would be something that we don't have to. Well, there's no real hurdles, is there? It's just creating an escrow contract, so that wouldn't be too hard, and then. Yeah, just I guess trusting Anchor, takes the money and, uses it for, fuel purposes only. But I think you've got enough community trust, and plus I only need to give you a few, I don't know, a couple of EOS a day, really. It's not like I could, hand over my life savings. So,
And I think we tried doing on-chain, and then we also tried doing off-chain, and the off-chain solution is a lot more scalable, doesn't require quite as much. So I think the direction we may go is completely off-chain with the holding, and it would be purchasing resources for use at a later date. And by going this route, we can also people could pay in Apple Pay if they wanted to pay their own, or could like fiat becomes an option alongside crypto. We're not holding your tokens. You're paying for resources. And then we can bundle it with account creation and potentially do subscription packages for individual users. There's a lot of flexibility in the direction we could go, but ultimately the code should be part of the SDKs, and that's kind of where we're hung up. we would like it to work with these other wallets as well. Because I mean, it'd be awesome if somebody could log in with a ledger and use the same thing.
But like the Anchor supports a ledger though anyway, can't you? You can have you don't have to. Yeah. So, well,
No.
when you say support ledger, you mean like direct, like vanilla ledger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, it's not. Screw it. we can move faster if we just focus on Anchor.
Yeah. And maybe that's the direction we go. But I mean, we've always tried to keep it open so that way the stuff we're building isn't exclusive to Anchor.
Yeah. Well, there's I don't know. Like I would I don't know. I think that's like noble as hell. But then if you're the only one that's carrying the weight, like, surely at some stage, as the little red hen that you are, you're gonna have to decide that you're not gonna share, your bread around. Like if you're doing all the work and the fox isn't helping you and the and none of the other farm animals are, are helping you with the protocol, then yeah. I reckon you should run for the wind, and then finally, when other animals wake up and they want to help, then we can have a shared bread system. Until then, it's your bread. Eat it, Aaron.
Well, and I mean, we did that with account creation, so I mean, it's a shift in our mentality. This new system we brought online, it's all Anchor. It can be expanded out, but if you're buying an account from us, you're going to use Anchor to create it. So we can probably go that direction with resources to begin with as well. But we just got here with account creation.
But the automated fuel system with Grey Mass having an escrow account that just for fuel reserves, that could work.
Be awesome if you could do
do
reactive billing.
that.
Like you just sign up, and then we'll tell you at the end of the month, it's like you owe us $18. You're like, all right, that was a good month. That was cheap.
Yeah, but you don't. It could just be a prepaid account, right? Like I can just put in 10 EOS into escrow, and you'll just bill it as you go.
Yeah.
And then if for some reason I need to withdraw my funds, then so be it. And then when the next time a user does try to use it, it will just come up with an error saying sorry, there's no funds available. You're gonna have to pay for this one.
Until we get plenty more lawyers involved, or it's a purchase. It's not a deposit and withdraw. So.
Okay, so there's one way then.
Yeah. Once they're purchased, they use it or lose it.
Okay, well it's fine then. But again, when I deposit the EOS, that will just remain until EOS until like trade time, won't it? Or are you gonna convert it into something as soon as you receive it?
We'll probably sell at regular intervals, and probably hold a pool to be able to purchase resources with. I don't know.
Does that mean that you'll like transfer my EOS balance into some other method of accounting and tell me how much I'm owed?
Yeah, we're calling them credits right now.
It wouldn't be easy to just hold the EOS until trade time? I mean, till a transaction time?
I mean, maybe, but it's a pool that we're continually spending for everyone at that point, just with a promise in the future that you get these resources. It gets really complicated as soon as, because the resource prices change, the value of EOS changes, and if we denominate things in fiat values, for example, like it's weird because fiat values are going to change against EOS, fiat values are going to change against resources, and EOS values are going to change against resources.
So just keep it pure EOS until the user actually says initiates the transaction, and then you run the fuel method, and only at that time is the EOS actually spent.
Yeah.
So same way it does at the moment, like fuel decides how much EOS to spend, and then it spends it.
Yeah, and we do have a system that traces everything to irreversibility, so that we have accurate billing on this stuff. So.
Well, cool. What problem solved then? Can we implement that?
I mean, we have the features already in the back end. There's just nowhere to purchase them. We're hoping to put that into Unicove. We want it to be in the resource section of Unicove, where you just go into resources and it's like, oh, here's your monthly subscription, or here you can buy bulk for your DApp, or here you can whatever you want to do payment-wise for your account or your contracts.
how do you authenticate, like, if a DApp deposited some funds, how would you ensure that you're paying for users that are actually using that DApp? It's just based on the contract or some kind of an IP address, or
Yeah, I would assume it's based on contracts and actions and like all centered around that app. Like if you're handling EOSIO token transfers, maybe it's bound to like a to field or something. You only want to sponsor transactions, system token transfers that are sent to your contract or something.
Yeah, or you can make it a bit more flexible and just say, yeah, like and any requests that comes from HTTPS Violet Garden, and
Yeah.
that's it. And then I trust Anchor to actually say, hey, this came from there. Because again, I'm not going to put that much money in anyway, am I? I'll just put in like an EOS a day or whatever it's going to cost to fulfill all my stuff. So it's not like I have to trust you with much anyway, even if you
Yeah.
did try to run away with the money.
And EOS, like one EOS will go a long way right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So, but you said Unicove would be a prerequisite. What's Unicove?
That's the web wallet we're working on. We kind of want it to be the
Okay.
hub for all of our services. We're
Right,
going to
and so that
integrate
we're
account creation. You'll
the
be able to manage tokens, download Anchor, manage
would
resources.
would that like replace Anchor then, like Anchor Desktop?
Yeah, the user interface is an Anchor desktop, yes. We really want Anchor to be like an authenticator. Like it's something you sign transactions with. And we might add like a simple send and receive. So if you're out and about, you are standing next to somebody and you want to send them tokens or some other whatever,
What's
NFT,
that? What's that written in?
Unicove.
Yeah,
We're using Svelte right now.
is it TypeScript?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anchor desktop is not, sadly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
too
well,
old for me to have considered TypeScript.
there's been like several occasions over the past few months that I've like, oh, I'll submit a PR to Anchor. It'd be cool if it had this. I'm like, oh shit, no, it's in written JavaScript. I'm not gonna bother.
Yeah, that's Anchor 2.0. The goal is to rewrite the entire app in better things. So the mobile
But-
apps are in a decent place, but desktop is something else.
But yeah, with the solution proposed, that would sort out all transaction fuel problems in contained in Anchor. But
Yeah. And I
that'd
mean,
be
there's
cool.
also the server pays side of things too, where you don't even need that API call. I mean, there's been occasions where fuel has been down because our services went offline. So I guess more service providers also solves that problem. Like if everybody on this call could run their own resource provider, it's an open source thing, and you just create some market for this type of activity, and then dApps could run their own if they wanted. But
So
that
can I
again,
can I disable fuel checks on Anchor?
yes.
So
But
does
then-
that mean if I just wanted to take this idea myself, I could basically have a transaction signed, but I don't broadcast. I send the transaction to my API. My API checks out, and if there's any fuel requirements, and just pays for the CPU itself, and then broadcast the transaction after that.
The way it works right now is you send the request to your API first, and it's not signed. The user hasn't even seen it yet. Your
Correct.
server determines if it is eligible. And if it is eligible, it modifies the transaction to add the billing, the first action to cover billing, which will hopefully be a parameter on the transaction instead of an action in the transaction if changes get made to EOSIO. But then you return the transaction to your website, which then forwards it to Anchor for the user to sign, and then they add their signature, and then you broadcast.
Like, is that something that can be delivered today, or is that still awaiting changes in the EOSIO contracts?
That's how fuel works. You
Okay,
can build
yeah.
your own. Yeah, I have a couple forum posts about this, about the techniques we used, and then there's 3 open source things that kind of show how it's done. A functional example.
Could I?
Yeah, I
I
can
don't
send
know.
this to you.
Yeah, send it to me. But I was just thinking of a more shortcut solution where I just do a direct power up and I guesstimate how much it's going to cost with the transaction and throw it at the user.
Then you gotta estimate how much the power up costs, and
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole can of worms. And then you end up, this has been driving me nuts forever, but occasionally, for whatever reason, some transactions get billed at absurd amounts. Like you'll do a token transfer and it'll use like 74 milliseconds or something. So you get stung by that occasionally and transactions fail. But
You know, I've never seen that actually on chain though. Like I've seen several instances where like a transaction will fail because the billing was like super high, but like when it goes through, it's always a reasonable number. So I guess it was just the node I was talking to had a hiccup or something.
well, the API will return what it estimates the transaction to be, which could be different than what the block producer decided the transaction is going to cost.
Mhm.
So, like our APIs, I have in our database, we track when we sampled the transaction. Like we sample it, I think 5 times, just to make sure that we're getting an accurate estimate. We record that, and then we watch for the transaction to be finalized by the block producers. And when it's finalized, we also record that. So, like just a couple weeks ago, we have a script that I think we open sourced it recently. It watches a set list of accounts and then makes sure that they always have a set minimum of resources. It manages resources automatically. Um, and one of our power up actions ended up costing 90 milliseconds or something, and it threw the whole system out of whack, and all of our accounts could no longer get resources because our rental script was broken. And like, but it all went back to this one transaction where the BPs took a transaction we estimated to take 600 microseconds that took 90 milliseconds. It's just,
Mm.
yeah,
Do you guys think we should go to objective billing?
tall order, but it would be nice.
Is it? I guess it's not a hard fork, is it? Or would it be? The all the BPs would have to upgrade.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think there's a significant amount of like research and coding that would be required.
I got the impression it wasn't like a big deal, but there would be like a 10% performance hit. But I wouldn't mind paying more just to have a consistent billing. That is one thing that makes it hard to
Yeah,
predict things. It just makes it harder to use because you don't because the cost of a transaction just changes from moment to moment for
yeah.
various reasons.
Yeah, we're seeing that actually in Wax a lot right now, because they're still on the old staking model. And
Mhm.
as CPU demand usage increases, like if there's an NFT drop that's massively successful and tens of thousands of transactions, all of a sudden people's CPU balances go to zero because we're entering that like I don't even every time I use a word congestion or leeway or something, somebody's like, no, that's not right. But that phase. Um, where then users are like, well, I could do a transaction yesterday. Why can't I do it today? And it's like, well, you got to
Right.
stake more. Well, that's
But
frustrating.
that's a fundamental design in how the drop is being made. I mean, the larger audience you have, the higher bottleneck you're going to see for that. They need to be more clever with how they like uh, design the drop, where they like span it across more time.
Essentially, yeah. But I mean, it's also kind of a flaw of the old resource model that the people that aren't participating in this drop are impacted by the people that are. Like people,
I th-
somebody
mm.
might have been a holder for the last year and just randomly today went out and was like, I want to sell some on some exchange, and they go to transfer it, and it's like, oh, they can't do that right now because the network's in this weird mode of operation.
I mean, the primary issue is that co-signing is not properly built into all the wallets,
Yeah,
and there's not a way for a user to easily handle the situation. Like the wallet just tries and throws an error.
yep,
Whereas like on any other blockchain, it would just be like, well, you just need to pay a higher fee here, click this button and do that. Or it would just get rejected and then you can hit a button to pay a higher fee. And they
hmm,
actually they've like added improvements to the web wallet, and they have a contract where you can like deposit funds as a DApp and they'll co-sign they use the web wallet, but it still seems really buggy and like not properly supported. Doesn't
Yeah,
always kick in correctly. So
I think they're still working through. I've talked with them a couple times to try to help like various topics because we've played with this a lot. But I mean, most of the time people come to like we'll get a surge the day that the Wax Cloud wallet goes down for a couple hours because people are like, well, this is crappy on one server, and if it goes down, nobody has access to anything. So then they come to us and they're like, I don't want to have this happen again. So it's this weird cycle, pros and cons. That was kind of a random tangent.
No, I mean, it was good because, I mean, it does show its benefits to having sometimes transaction fees, having the ability to pay on
Yeah.
something. And it definitely has its trade-offs. I mean, for sure.
but like there's lots of dApps that would love to pay for their users. Like if you're
Yeah.
doing an NFT drop and you could just
Yes.
put in $100 and be like, anyone that wants to use my drop today, I'm gonna cover it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's no mechanism for them to sponsor those transactions for their users.
Yeah. I mean, Atomic Hub built their own to handle this, just because there's no out of the box solution for them.
Mhm.
Some of the bigger apps, I think Blocks does it too. Um, you look at these giant apps that have put a lot of development time in, and they're the ones that have done this. Whereas a lot of the littler apps, the ones that want to do these drops to get their operation off the ground or promotion or whatever, they just can't invest the engineering resources to like make it happen at this point. So having an out of the box solution would be awesome to be able to allow apps to pay for resources for users.
Which can be accomplished with Anchor Fuel Station.
Yep. I mean,
Actually, gas station. Is that what Americans say? Gas station.
something like that, yeah.
Aaron, did you figure out how to get funds out of Eden without paying personal income tax?
Yes. And it's really complicated if I were to do it as an individual. I did find a way that I can basically make capital contributions to Graymass that are not taxed. And then Graymass can invoice people who we choose to support. Otherwise, there is an action in the contract that you can transfer between Eden members. So that's another option.
I mean, I was just wondering if, from a legal standpoint, you can just say that as an Eden member, you're representing Gray Mass, not so you're participating as, you know, a Gray Mass representative, not as an individual, right? And then,
Yeah. Because I mean, we have a number of accounts for Graymass that I use personally that are we consider to be Graymass's property. So I don't consider those to be my own. But this account I have always considered to be my own. And like, I feel like it's my profile on Eden, not like a company.
Mhm.
So it's fuzzy. And typically anything that's fuzzy, I stay away from because I don't like lawyers and I don't like accountants. Like, not as people, but just like I hate trying to organize that information. It's
Yeah.
oh yeah.
not my cup of tea.
So if they add a feature to the Eden contract where you can have the funds withdrawn to a custom account, I guess you could just have the funds go directly to a Gray Mass account, and that would solve that problem.
Yeah, yeah. But as of now, I do have the green light from my accountant that there is a like paperwork flow that I can go through, coming to an agreement with Gray Mass and like making that all official and documented, where I can just take the money. It'll be in my personal possession, and then I give it to Gray Mass, and I won't like it as it passes through me. It won't be taxed. And then it'll be up to Gray Mass to handle the paperwork and invoicing to the people those funds go to then support. It's just creating that paper trail. So that way I don't get dinged 30% taxes or whatever stupid number it is.
Sounds like a good blog post.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out and right now I'm trying to figure out what this agreement between myself and Gray Mass looks like, because it has to be me, the representative of Eden, working with Gray Mass, the company, and then get our lawyers to sign off on that.
This is one of the few
Crypto's
examples where
messy.
it's great to be Canadian.
Yeah, well, it does complicate it because Greymass is a Canadian company and I'm a U.S. citizen. So
Could you just legally say that you don't want the money and then give it to Chris, and then Chris takes it as, you know, lotto number, and then he just transfers it where you wanted it to go, like under the table kind of thing?
I mean, that could be a way to do it through the contract transfer action that we tested out a couple weeks ago or last week. Or
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So John Heater, just so you know, in Canada, because this is like a contest essentially, it's called a windfall in Canada, and it's not taxable. So lottery winnings and contest winnings in Canada are not taxable.
Cool.
Which is awesome. Once I
That
have
makes
the
a lot of
tokens,
sense.
yeah, it does kind of, right? Once I have the tokens though, and then I spend them, I still have to do an adjusted cost base, and so that's where, if EOS goes up a lot in value, obviously that's not something we need to worry about. Then I'd have to pay more maybe in capital gains. I'm just kidding, of course.
Proper Eden delegate.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just a realist.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
I think
No
if you were to
here.
claim it and then sell it immediately, you'd at least be able to avoid that potential capital gain or capital loss.
No, because it's an adjusted. So I have to, since I already own tokens with a current cost base, I then have to add these tokens that I would claim to my lump that I personally possess, and then it combines. And then when I sell, whatever the new adjusted cost base is, I have to pay capital gains potentially. So, but
I guess from my accounting perspective, and I don't know if this is an option in Canada, but it's like each batch of tokens is its own cost basis and its own taxable event.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's for, how's that? First in, first out, or no? That's the opposite. But
yeah, one of those two, first in, first out, or last in.
Yeah, that's last in, first out, I think is what you, or anyway, yeah, pretty sure that's what that one is. But I know in mine anyway, it's treated like gold or any commodity. I have to do an adjusted cost-based calculation, so that's how crypto's treated. So I have a very elaborate spreadsheet that I've been keeping for the past 5 years or whatever.
Taxes are no fun in crypto.
That's one thing we was hoping crypto was going to solve, was get out of the tax realm, or at least start a new way of tax, right? But
you can tax loss harvest if you're a U.S. citizen. Not that you want to have to do that, but that's certainly a way to offset capital gains that you would pay later. And because crypto is property, the wash sale rule doesn't apply, or at least it currently doesn't. It's a very interesting gray area.
Yeah, I had a long call with my accountant like a week ago, and that was one of the other things he brought up, was that all these coins that have died over the past 5 years I've been involved, I should probably sell some of those at big losses to offset some of these gains.
Yep.
And in fact, if you were doing like the highest in, first out, I don't know what your EOS stash is, but it's likely then that the reward that you got could be at a basically at a tax loss, depending on like when you were collecting your EOS throughout the existence of the chain.
Right. I don't have a ton of EOS right now, but that's mainly because it's hard to both invest your time and money in the same place.
Could you just have like Greymass issue an NFT, and then you buy that NFT for a fuckload of money, and then you sell that NFT for like half an EOS, and then you write that as a loss?
NFTs are a weird gray area.
It's essentially art. It's like the new sort of art world, of like money and taxable events.
That's an interesting idea, John. I think that's like that's pretty common for money laundering, actually. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the NFT world isn't ripe with a lot of like washing of funds.
There's no way those NFTs are worth $500 million. Come on, that's someone buying them for themselves, obviously.
Well, it's the same thing with the art world.
And with tokens
JPEG,
to some degree.
$5 million JPEG. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No way that's got to be some kind of money laundering, just in a different way.
Or just a scam. not even laundering.
Yeah,
just a scam
Well,
trying to
think
pump the
about the
price of
money
something and
these
then sell it.
people, yeah, and then think about the money some of these people are going to lose at some point, especially if regulation does come, and it's going to come eventually, sooner than later, probably, on some of this stuff. I mean, there's going to be some people out there that are wishing they didn't get into the NFT space. You know, that's why it's good. I really have a hard time getting into the NFTs because I got stuck a little bit in the 2017 ICO craze, and I can kind of, it resembles it some.
Mm-hmm.
But the NFTs are a lot cooler. I will say that.
They have utility. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
They make sense in that respect, but the valuations are still
I think NFTs just get a bad name at the moment, and that sucks. Like same way blockchain has a bad name. You know, like some people, instead of saying blockchain, they say distributed ledgers, like in the corporate world, because they don't want to say like blockchain.
Yeah.
It's the same thing of like NFTs. Like there's so many amazing use cases. Like your car could be an NFT. Like real world assets. You go to the shop and buy a PlayStation, get an NFT for that, and like your warranty information, everything's on it. But at the moment, NFTs are just cute little JPEGs, and people, you know, kind of cringe at them. But they have a much bigger use case than what people first think.
It's like the whole thing, though. People just don't. They just don't know what they don't know, and so the only thing they do know is what they saw on CNBC or right.
They buy Dogecoin.
If like
they buy,
Gordon Ramsay,
Dogecoin, yeah.
If Gordon Ramsay makes you a dish, there'll be like an NFT that comes with it, like proving that you ate Gordon Ramsay's food.
Right.
I reckon that'll be a thing at like 5-star restaurants.
Totally, and that exactly right. That'll happen. I'm with you on that. That's a great idea.
Yep.
It's a real life achievement, like a video game achievement.
Yeah.
But also it'll be good for like what about just normal restaurants where like food poisoning's a thing. So if you have like people go online and like 20 people say I have food poisoning and they all share the same NFT from this one restaurant, you immediately know that it's that restaurant that did the food poisoning. It's not so like subjective and hard to determine as well.
The NFT you can like. It's like modifiable, so you can change it to like the barf face NFT versus the fat belly NFT. So you look at the website, you look at the restaurant, and you see all the barf face ones, or like the mouth like on a. That'd be funny.
Yeah, it's a food safety as well.
A new rating system.
That's how we put Yelp out of business.
Yeah. One FT at a time.
And another use case, I hate when you go to a restaurant and you ask for a rare steak and it comes like medium. So again, if you get the NFT, you take a photo and say, hey, I'm proving like this steak, with the NFT and provide the picture. Then again, you can have a website that just rates all the restaurants based on how well they did their steaks. Blockchain, solving everything.
You sound like a bit of a foodie, John. Do you go to a lot of restaurants?
Yeah, I'm really bad actually. I haven't cooked my own meal for like several months.
Several months.
Yeah, I eat out way too often.
Do you like at least make cereal for breakfast?
Negative. No, I'm a regular at this cafe in the morning. They just say hey. They put in a number on my card. I don't even ask what I want. Same thing.
Oh yeah, right on. That's cool. Well, at least you're supporting the local economy.
Yeah. It's an admirable thing to do.
I worked at one of those restaurants growing up. There's you're a local. It's a perfectly fine thing to do.
You'll have to pitch them the NFT idea, and then you'll be the biggest collector of NFTs as well.
Yeah. Like baristas now, like I think traditionally baristas were considered like a not that big of a deal. It's like it's just coffee, but like as now coffee becomes more of a thing, people are a bit more fancy, especially Australians. I think Australians have a pretty high standard for coffee, so I think baristas as well. They make you a coffee, and as you paid for your coffee an NFT, like they know your account, like your EOS account, and then when they give you the coffee, your NFT comes to you. And so you know where your coffee came from. Like Australians care about which barista makes their coffee. Like if the wrong barista makes our coffee, be like, oh shit, like I got a coffee from Sarah, like I wanted one from Matt, kind of thing. Like that's, you know,
That's funny.
how iffy we can be. So that'll be like another cool thing. Plus your resume, like you'd be like, oh, I'm a barista. Look at the 2 million, you know, NFTs or whatever I've minted representing my coffees and the reviews on them. Like how good would that be?
It would be very good because you see a lot of embellished resumes in the world, right? So to be able to like actually use an immutable ledger to prove what you say, that's actually that's a good point.
It'd be neat.
It's your next Violet Garden implementation. Violet Coffee.
Better get the domain now.
Are you changing the name of Violet Garden still? I remember you were bouncing the idea around.
Yeah, I want to. I think again the idea was it calling it Garden, and then the domain would be garden.social. But I don't know. There's so much stuff that I can put my technical skills towards, and I'm not very good at wearing the sort of branding hat. So I reckon I'll wait until I get funding, and then I'll hire someone, and then do like bigger, you know, branding overhaul rather than just change the name.
Names are hard.
Names are hard. Especially if you don't code it properly the first time, you're going to go back in. I've hard coded Violet Garden too many places, so it's going to be a pain in the ass to change now.
I'll be honest, it's kind of wearing on me. I like the name.
Yeah, I feel the same now. The more I talk about it, I'm like, oh, I kind of like Violet still, but
Me too.
I always look at it and I think Violent Garden.
Yeah, that's what Dan said as well, eh? So, yeah. Then again, I got to worry about copyright, I guess. I imagine Garden would be a problem. I don't know, can I get sued for Garden? At least with Violet Garden, it's a bit more rare. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why we made up a word.
Unicove?
Yeah. The cove where the unicorn lives. Unicorn mermaid.
Awesome. It is a nice logo, though.
We spent far too much time playing with that. And it all originated from just like a bunch of emojis that got stacked on top of each other. We're like, we should do something fun like that.
Hey, John, I do have a quick question.
Yep.
So, on your Void token, I've spent several seasons. I had several of my computers up doing the mining. Does that do anything to the mainnet as far as anything like security-wise? Could it help the EOS mainnet doing anything like we're doing with the Void token?
Oh, you're talking about could your personal computer like be a block producer on EOS or provide?
Yeah, kind
security?
of, but like the way we're mining with the Void token, is there a way it could produce any kind of security, like a proof of work on a proof of stake chain, kind of?
I mean, we've had lots of ideas in that direction, but mostly for other chains, not for EOS. Because EOS is delegated proof of stake, so that's really the only way that the security works. But there's a lot of services that you need, like APIs and databases and things like that. So and also like blocks, like storing them and replicating them. So, that's one thing we would like to do is, replicating blocks across all of our users' machines and running history nodes and things like that. The difficulty in all that is that it's pretty complex to build and it's difficult to monetize, So we're trying to find the right angle there to properly monetize it so that it's sustainable to do that.
Yeah, just doing it, I felt like I was pretty powerful running 3 computers with all my Void tokens and stuff and generating. It just felt like it was doing something in the network. I guess that's how it was in some of the early days in Bitcoin some way. So I didn't know if you could do anything like that or not. But
no, that's really more of a it's kind of an old school proof of work kind of thing. But there's a lot of other services that we can contribute towards in the future, I believe.
Well, I'm a big fan of the project. I like what you guys are doing. And you guys are always coming up with new ideas. I like the pools and stuff you got there. It's at least something to do. Is it costing any kind of resources on the EOS mainnet to do anything like that other than just token transfers?
To do the power pools,
Yeah. Yep.
it costs, like we run some servers that push that just push like claim actions and things like that. So there is like some CPU costs, but it's
Not too bad.
very small. Yeah, it's not it's minimal. And also anyone can call them, so anyone can call claim. So if we don't, then you can do it yourself. So we
Right.
just do it for convenience.
Good question though.
Yeah, I've always wondered what I mean, it seems like a powerful project, that we could do a lot with. I'm sure probably you guys have had a million ideas, with doing stuff like that when you see a lot of computers hooked up like that. So I always kind of wondered if we were doing anything for the EOS mainnet or if you could use that in any way to make it even more secure. But it was just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, a big missing piece is like any application that has like complex data, they need some special database in order for the interface to work properly.
Right.
So then like the entire application is reliant on one server, and if that server goes down, then no one can interact with it. They have to go and manually type in the contract actions on blocks or something like that, So
Yeah.
if we could standardize these kind of application databases and make them widely available and deployable so that there's many instances like Violet Garden, how hard would it be, John, to make the Violet Garden backend kind of composable or replicatable in a way to be more redundant, I guess?
Nah, not that hard. It's just a MongoDB, so it wouldn't be hard to share, and all data that's on it is public anyway.
Right.
There's a few things that I could put more on chain perhaps as well, but I just do the API for the user use.
Yeah, so there's a possibility there.
There, yeah. I don't want to think on that one. I'll run it by you next Monday if I can come up with some stuff.
The problem is always manpower.
Yeah. Yep.
I can call my dinner. I'm going to take this opportunity to dip out.
2.5 hours we're in here, so you've committed a lot of time, Mr. Head Chief Delegate.
Yeah, I guess it has been a while, hasn't it?
It goes by fast.
Yeah. Enjoyable, especially when there's no agenda and no decision.
Yeah.
Get to hang out a little bit.
It's
Well,
a
thanks,
show.
man.
It's a social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I will chat with you guys soon.
Okay.
All right, man. Good night.
See you.
Later.
Hey, John, is the EOS Power Up webpage open source or is that private?
It's not open sourced. I was considering that though.
The lack of the bouncing bugs me when you type in an EOS account name.
What bugs you?
The bouncing, so basically when you type in a user, like it doesn't look like there's a lag, so as soon as you type in the letter J, O, H, it does like 3 requests.
That's true. Yeah, that's just lazy. That's just laziness on my part. It does need a debouncer in there. But it's using the old GrayMass API. It's used to some abuse.
Yeah, true.
Hey, Chris, have you noticed Binance kind of climbing the ranks a little bit?
Binance, their coin?
No, they're on as a block producer.
Oh no, I haven't looked recently. I did
I've
hear
noticed
there
them
was a shift
popping up.
though. Yeah, let's look.
You know, it makes me wonder sometimes with them. I mean, this is pure speculation, but you know, CZ was kind of coming out bashing EOS a little bit and saying this and that, and then here he is climbing to the top. You know, to be up in the higher spot in the ranking. So
Yeah.
it just makes you wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. I did notice that Jenner EOS got 15 million votes to move into second place. That's cool.
Yeah, that is. And I don't know what. I haven't looked here recently. It changes quite a bit, but the Google Cloud, they were like right around 38 or whatever. Just speculating. I figured when they
39.
got closer to 39, I figured they would be just my opinion, speculation, but I figured if they got close to the top 21, you would probably see a really close announcement for bullish, just in my opinion, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, who knows? I see there's this other new one that I've never noticed before. More is Future. They're number 34.
Yeah, I've seen that one pop. They have been bouncing around a lot. There's a lot of action going on the BPs.
More.top. It's a More Top wallet. Is their Twitter, and their website doesn't open anything. Another highly engaged community BP.
Yeah, I know.
That's why.
Have you met with?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you met with the EOS Rapid team at all?
I tried to reach. I did reach out. I tried. They have. I've never heard from them. I've tried.
Wow.
I've tweeted at them. I've emailed them. I've never heard from them.
Unreal.
And they're number 10. Of course, they just lost 5 spots. They lost 5 million votes almost. I think it's so interesting. The Upbit Korean exchange with 135 million EOS not even being voted. And you see
Yeah.
Like right now, EOS Nation at the top with 309 million votes, and ZB at 21st place with 201 million votes.
Big gap, yeah.
So basically, like anybody from 50th spot and up, if they got the Upbit vote, would end up in the top 21.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. Like, what? But then again, what if you took like an exchange that's using people's funds to vote with, like you know Binance is, and you took that stake away, or people would just, I don't know where these EOS are at. A lot of people seem to leave EOS on the exchange. It'd be so nice to find a way to get people to take ownership of their EOS and vote with them, you know. But as easy as that sounds, it's pretty hard to do, really.
The incentives are not there.
No, they're not. And people don't care in the long run. We do, but the average end user doesn't care as long as the network works, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to swallow, I guess, for us, knowing how it kind of works from the, you know, being here from the beginning. But I don't know what you do about it. I definitely think Eden will make a huge influence on this for sure. And, you know, verified users, you know, done their homework on these BPs, and shame on the ones that don't reach out. But I don't know that we'll flip a bunch of people around either. I hope to. That's my definitely goal. I mean, I'm being optimistic a little bit, but yeah, like, no, go ahead.
Anyone heard from Han about Upbit?
I have. Still moving forward.
Good.
Yeah, still progress. A lot of details still to work out. But, yep, still moving forward. And that's where it's tough, because that's an exchange. So it's like if all of a sudden we make some sort of rule about exchanges can't vote with user funds, and it becomes pretty blanket. So I don't think we can do that. We just have to create incentives that incentivize people to want to pull their tokens off an exchange in self-custody. So
Yeah.
we just got to find a way to incentivize that.
I think we will over time. We're just gonna have to see. I mean, we're at the beginning stages of all this. I think you'll have a lot more excitement and a lot of newer people come into this market too. And once we get more people, I think it'll really start taking off. It's like all these other changes you do that happen. You could have the worst project in the world, and the token price go up, and just for no reason whatsoever, people speculating or just people pumping the token, and now everyone's ready to build on this network, nonstop, and people come flooding in. I think EOS will see that at some point, for sure. So, I mean, you're going to have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some will stick around, some won't, but, it's how many you can retain in bull and bear markets.
Yep. It's coming.
Yeah, for sure.
I liked Colin Talks Crypto had a recent video about his cash out plan.
Yeah, I commented on it. Did you see that?
In the like YouTube comments?
Yeah, in the YouTube comments. I did.
What did you say?
Yeah, I told him, I said, I tried to get him to come to the community, and not just sell all your EOS and be done. I mean, I told him you've held EOS for a long time. He's put in a lot of work. I mean, I think I told him it's coming together, but it's back to what Zach said the other day. You're bringing, bad habits, bad memories back into the community, which it's not all going to be bad. I mean, it will get better. I mean, for most people that have bad attitudes, if the token price, tripled overnight, that would all go away, in my opinion. But, but if you can't form a community when it's like this, then you're not gonna have a sustainable one when you do have a higher token price.
Yeah, we got to come about it naturally. He'll come back. Because he's not like he's rational. The thing with Colin is it's not like he's really been out of line. I think he's made a lot of sense. Not. So I think I think his biggest beef was the voter reward thing. I'm pretty sure that was where he kind of drew the line there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I do get that. Well, that and then Dan stepping down when, that FUD all happened with Block 1 and Dan getting out of it, made it look like, Dan was leaving the project for good, and that got blown out of proportion. I think that was really his last final straw. Mm-hmm. I'll even say that was probably my toughest moment at that time, but I'm like, even I was in at one point, like, screw it. We have a decentralized network. We'll get out of it, But yeah, that one hurt a little bit. But on the other side of it, you start thinking about it, this whole Block 1 thing, and we really did put too much, which they advertised for, and I'm not giving them any credit at all over it. They did say a lot of things that the community, went on, hoping they were going to build this, build that. I mean, Jonathan even said no one's going to compete with someone building a wallet or this or that. If you really think about it, now we've got Eden and stuff, it really feels kind of ridiculous to rely on one entity, that we've been doing that all the time.
Yeah.
That we were actually doing that. I think they will do their part, but as that may have been at one point as Block 1, that was a consensus among the group. But wouldn't that be the biggest security ever if we all bought a token and then just waiting on someone to build something for it?
Yeah, but it's just financially hard to compete. Like, you know, how much money do you want to invest in a business that's, you know, at the time was going up against a company that had $4 billion and made the damn, you know, blockchain. Like, you know, the rec system, and then the like so much stuff, or again, you know, let's make a standard. Oh, hang on, URLs just, they've, you know, block one kind of just pulled rabbits out of a hat. Like, we had no idea what they were gonna, you know, work on next. And it's like, oh, do you want to build an exchange? Well, you know, block one was meant to build an exchange so that could drop at like any moment. There was like no sort of transparency from them, and they made, yeah, like $4 billion. So hard to compete against. And then, yeah, I guess with, you know, all the BPs, like, so there was a lot of, you know, good BPs, but, you know, there's still, you know, a bunch of sort of Chinese ones, and as well, and all the, I don't know, the only apps that I saw that come out were just sort of gambling apps at the time.
Yeah, and that's something that really should be addressed too. At least I think Pomelo can help with that some. But yeah, I don't know. That the whole block one thing at the time, EOS was king just for the fact is they had $4 billion. You had Ethereum at the time hurting for money. BitShares ran out of money. All these projects were running out of money, and then now all these token prices have went up on these other projects. You have all these other communities. That's been my only little bit of a worry, is that, you know, did we have too much downtime? But it seems like we're building up pretty rampant, you know. All it's going to take is one event, when something big happened and the EOS community take off, and everyone will flock to it.
Yep.
I mean, I really do. It won't take much. I mean, look at all the people. I mean, I'm not here to talk about other projects or downgrade anyone's project, because I think they have the best thing. But look what Cardano did. I mean, at one point, I think it was $95 billion project with no smart contracts. I'm sitting there thinking, man, I mean, EOS we may have had block one screw us over, but I mean, at the same time, we are a 4-year battle tested chain with a lot of problems out of it, you know.
Yeah. Good things are coming.
Yeah, I think so. Dan did say back a long time ago, it was something I was watching him on some channel, and the reason why I brought it up to Dan earlier is he talked about having mining on EOS. I mean, I guess you can kind of do that in some ways, CPU mine, I guess, and other ways, but he made it sound like you could actually mine coins, and I haven't really seen that come to light yet. Does anybody know what that would be?
What do you mean by mining? Because like there's traditional mining, but it's such a buzzword these days, and people say, "Oh, you stake this token and you're mining," when there's no real mining at all. So, what exactly do you mean by mining?
If you're talking, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. No, I don't know. He said mining like he was like more like, and I don't know what he meant. He meant mining back and he said this probably in 2017, 18, it's early 18, before mining. I don't know if he was meaning basically lock up your EOS and you would distribute mining power to some way, or if he meant that there was actually going to be some kind of, you know, other layer to EOS, like a delegated proof of work system on top of this thing. I mean, I don't know. I have heard that may be similar what they're talking about with Bitcoin or something else.
Unless it was my connection, I think you dropped out a fair bit. I didn't quite.
It was hard to hear. It wasn't just you.
Oh, was it hard?
You're good now.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah, you sound okay now. You were a little matrixy before.
No, when Dan said in 2017 or 18, he was talking about, basically having this mining where he was talking about it back when a lot of people were talking about proof of work mining. Like he was almost going to have, I don't know, like another layer of delegated proof of work.
I think there was the idea of using proof of work for randomization and then selecting BPs based off proof of work. Yeah, wasn't there the idea? Yeah, it's like 80% of the BPs did like they are today, but then 20% are picked at random, and they get to sit at the the last 3 seats from like 18 to 21 or something like that. Yeah, there was that. That's right. Just to make sure that they are actually sort of warmed up and they say that they're ready to produce a block, but then when they actually jump in the seat, they're not ready to do so. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that. I don't know. There's a lot of ideas. Like what happened to what even happened to one token, one vote? Is that still a thing, or that died out, or is that the dumb idea now? Like, what's the go with that idea?
Yeah,
Sitting on the.
I don't know.
Like, I'm not sure if Dan made a post and said, hey, this is stupid for X reason, or if we kind of just gave up the battle because, the BPs, wouldn't be in favor of that one.
You might James Mart, his that very complicated tokenomic system. Part of the voting mechanism is a one token, one divisible vote from EOS New York's proposal that they came up with that was similar to that. So you might like that bit of it. It's a unique take.
That and the staking pools, I kind of like the idea of, but I guess we kind of have that now a little bit with proxies, but
should go to. Well, I guess EOS. I don't know. I guess if we want to affect that change, ENF would be the place to go to make it happen.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out there for. I don't think it's necessary to go crazy on it at this point, but
I guess another thing though is like, we are the community.
Yeah.
Eden, like as Eden on EOS expands and and becomes more and more of the community. Eventually, at some point, we're gonna have to say, "Hey, BPs, like you have to play, with us and be somewhat accountable. Otherwise, we will fork." So I think there's only so much, slack that we should give them. If they don't want to contribute to it, if the only thing they want to do is make money for running a node, then yeah, at some point we're going to say that's not acceptable, and then we can bring the community with us. And then, with that, we can have what we want, like staking pools and one token, one vote, and actually, affect the things that we want. And then at least then we can actually come up with a more of the, what you call it, the story. We can have a bit more control of the, the sentiment as well. If we frame it right, it can be a story of, the little guys, coming out and making their own chain and taking control of the community, rather than being ruled by, the block producers and the miners of the world. Because whether Bitcoin players love to fantasize that they have decentralization, but again, they're still controlled by their block producers too. There's no difference there. But with Eden,
totally, yeah.
With Eden, with every account on there, we can actually hold people accountable for what we want. And if we don't like it, we can have much more control over the network. So we should, yeah.
Bitcoin is centralized as could be. I mean, it is in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot more centralized than EOS, in my opinion. As crazy as that sounds.
Like ideally, the sort of feelings would be, if you're not on Eden on EOS, like you're not part of the EOS community, like full stop. Because then the more people that we can get on there, and we can actually have these conversations and engage, how we feel, the stronger that we are, and then with consensus we can pull off things like hard forks and actually stay whole as a community. Because that's the riskiest thing, with forking, is that you think you think everyone's going to follow you to this new place, and it turns out it's only you and 3 other people that rock up, and now you're just isolated, and you screwed yourself.
Right.
If you separate from the herd, you only separate from the herd if you think the rest of the herd is going to follow you, kind of thing, right?
Hello?
But if the herd does not follow you, you're dead meat in 5 minutes. You'll be picked off by while the animals in the wild are ready to take you.
Well, there definitely is value in what we're talking about, and we should have I don't know if Monday night's the night to talk about this stuff, but at least once every couple weeks, have a hour chat, even in Discord or somewhere, if we could all get on and talk about these things, at least get them circling around to see what consensus we can get out of the Eden community. Did I lose you guys?
No.
Yeah, no, you're
yeah.
still there. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I guess I don't know, really Eden still needs amongst the CDs a good chat with ENF, really to sort of gauge feelings of what's what and what kind of powers, or because really we just don't have communication with block producers. It's so sort of ambiguous, and while we can sort of reach out to some, again, others are uncontactable, but I feel like some of the contactable ones are contactable by Eve and ENF, because obviously they must have done so to get the sign off on the funding and stuff that they have done. So yeah. Need to actually, where are we at with that, Chris? Do we have a plan to talk to ENF? Wasn't that a meeting item?
It was. We didn't talk about it at all. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, Eve had that cookie split analogy. Right? We split, he chooses. That was the comment.
Right.
And the problem, what I don't understand about that comment is that presupposes we know what we're splitting.
Yeah.
Split what? All of it? Okay. We could come up with a proposal, but I don't know if that's what he means. I was, we totally forgot to talk about that because, we probably don't want to talk about it in this recorded state. Hey, Eve. But we do need to come up with a game plan, and I think the game plan needs to include how this scales with other Edens. So whatever we propose, we should really, I think, consider that, because that's obviously a question that needs to be figured out, right? Once there's more Edens, how do you divide that cookie up? Maybe that's the cookie he's talking about.
Yeah.
But again, I don't even know what that cookie is, and it still presupposes we understood that base principle. So, yeah, let's take this offline and figure it out as a set of chief delegate. I think this warrants a less transparent deliberation amongst ourselves to come up with our best approach.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I gotta go. I got another meeting in a couple minutes. But as always, thanks for your time. I'll see you on Thursday night, Chris.
Yeah, man. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, good chatting. And thanks, Jeremy, for your time too. Lots of great input. And Agelos, thank you for listening in.
Yep, no problem, man. I appreciate it, and I'll be talking to you guys soon.
Okay, right on.
All right,
Thank you for those who paid attention and watched this long. We'll do this again next week. So join Discord and join the conversation yourself.